Hey warriors, there comes a moment in your life when you finally realize something brutal. The world didn't fail you. Your father didn't prepare you. And life never intended to give you a fair chance. You were handed kindness when you needed strategy, hope when you needed discipline, dreams when you needed structure, and comfort when you needed confrontation. You weren't taught how to survive wolves. You were raised to believe wolves didn't exist. But you felt them. Every time someone used your loyalty against you, every time you stayed silent while someone else took credit, every time you forgave disrespect just to keep the peace. You learned the truth through pain, not guidance. The world respects strength, not softness. Precision, not intention. Boundaries, not generosity. And the more you tried to be the good man, the dependable son, the reliable friend, the more people learned one thing about you: your time was cheap. But here's the truth your father forgot to teach you: people don't respect what's accessible. They respect what's scarce. They respect what's selective. They respect what they must earn. You spent years believing your presence created loyalty, but the opposite was true. Your constant presence created entitlement. Nobody warned you. Nobody explained that the moment you become essential to others, you disappear to yourself. That the more you give without standards, the easier it becomes for people to see you as a tool, not a man. And every time you told yourself you were helping, you were training them. Every time you showed up unasked, you were conditioning them. Every time you cleaned someone else's mess, you were lowering your value. Not because you were weak, but because you didn't know the rule. Never let people taste your effort too easily. Before we go deeper, hit the subscribe button now, because what you're about to learn will rewrite the part of your mind your father never understood. The part that turns boys into men and men into leaders. This isn't therapy. This is transformation. Look around your life. Trace every disappointment back to one source. You didn't know how powerful you were supposed to be. When someone disrespected you, you reasoned with them. When someone took advantage of you, you excused them. When someone ignored you, you chased clarity. But power doesn't chase. Power withdraws. Power observes. Power lets people reveal their intentions without needing to expose its own. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the touch," meaning people don't care about your kindness. They care about your presence, your image, your frame. And if your frame is soft, the world will handle you like cotton. This is where your real evolution begins. Not with revenge, not with anger, but with a new identity, one built on selective presence, silent strength, and ruthless self-respect. Everything your father couldn't teach you, you're about to learn now. Your father taught you how to survive, but he never taught you how to dominate. Survival keeps you alive. Domination shapes your destiny. And whether you realize it or not, every room you walk into is a battlefield of perception. People are scanning you, measuring you, calculating your value before you've spoken a single word. They're asking themselves, can I use him? Can I ignore him? Can I control him? Or must I respect him? Most men fail this silent test because they walk in carrying emotional noise, neediness, insecurity, hesitation, guilt. A man with emotional noise becomes easy to read, easy to manipulate, and easy to dismiss. Your father didn't tell you that silence is not emptiness. Silence is psychological gravity. And the more disciplined your silence, the more people bend around you. Think back to the moments when someone challenged you, insulted you, or tried to provoke you. You reacted. You defended yourself. You explained. You argued. You chased closure. Not because you were wrong, but because you didn't know that responding emotionally is the fastest way to give away your power. A man who reacts is a man who can be controlled. A man who explains himself too much is a man seeking approval. A man who needs to be understood is a man who fears being misunderstood. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. The one who can control his own nature controls the nature of others. In simple terms, the colder you become inside, the sharper your mind gets outside. Let me tell you why this matters. Emotional men lose negotiations, they lose relationships, they lose status, they lose opportunity. They misinterpret disrespect as miscommunication. They think boundaries require explanations. They think saying no needs softness. They believe fairness exists. But the world is strategic, not moral. People use guilt as a weapon. They use disappointment as leverage. They exploit your empathy to shape your choices. Emotional men drown in this trap. Strategic men walk through it untouched. This is why you must learn the first ruthless lesson your father forgot. Never bleed in front of people who would feed on your wounds. When someone pushes you, stay calm. When someone doubts you, stay silent. When someone underestimates you, let their ignorance become your advantage. Your composure becomes their confusion. Your stillness becomes their insecurity. Your coldness becomes their caution. But understand this part clearly. Coldness is not cruelty. Coldness is clarity. Coldness is choosing your future over someone else's comfort. Coldness is refusing to let guilt, pressure, or emotional manipulation steer your life. The moment you embrace cold clarity, something shifts inside you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for protecting your peace. You stop giving your time to people who haven't earned it. You stop feeling responsible for other people's feelings, and you start feeling a new strength rise, one your father wanted for you, but never mastered himself. Look at your life right now. The places where you feel most exhausted are the places where you've donated too much emotional access. People drain you because you allow them. People disrespect you because you trained them. People assume you'll always be there because you have been. But that ends now, because the man you're becoming isn't built for convenience, he's built for consequence. There's a reason why certain men walk into a room and instantly shift the atmosphere, while others blend into the background like furniture. It has nothing to do with looks, height, money, or status. It's identity, a forged identity, a self-chosen identity, not the one you inherited from childhood, from teachers, from failures, from the opinions of people who never understood you. Most men walk around carrying identities assigned to them by the world. The quiet one, the helper, the emotional one, the reliable one, the easy one. And because they never challenge these labels, they become trapped inside a version of themselves that was never chosen, only tolerated. Your father never warned you that the identity you don't consciously build becomes the cage you unconsciously live in. Let me show you how this works. Think of the last time someone disrespected you, subtly, quietly, with a joke that wasn't a joke. You felt it, but instead of responding with controlled confidence, you laughed it off to avoid tension. You wanted to keep the peace. You wanted to avoid conflict. But here's the truth you never heard growing up. Every time you choose peace over self-respect, you train people to believe your dignity is optional. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Modern men misunderstand this. Fear here does not mean intimidation. It means consequence. People respect you when your boundaries have weight, when disrespect has a cost, when your silence is not submission, but calculation. Now ask yourself, what does the current version of you signal to the world? Do you signal power or permission? Do you signal certainty or doubt? Do you signal boundaries or availability? Your identity is revealed in three places: how you react under pressure, how you speak when challenged, and how you behave when no one is watching. And right now, you may be living as a man who was shaped by survival, not by strategy. But this is where your transformation begins. The most dangerous man alive is not the strongest. It's the man who builds himself deliberately piece by piece, while everyone else builds themselves accidentally. The moment you stop being who the world conditioned you to be and start becoming who you decide to be, everything around you shifts. People treat you differently. Opportunities respond differently. Even your body language changes without trying. You stand straighter, you speak slower, you think sharper, you move with intentionality instead of emotional instinct. This evolution requires one brutal step. You must kill the version of yourself that was built on pleasing people. That man cannot follow you into the future. That man was always bending, always compromising, always shrinking, always waiting for approval that never came. He was useful, but he was never powerful. And you cannot be both. From this moment forward, you craft a new identity, one built on discipline, presence, silence, and consequence. You become a man who is not moved by pressure, not swayed by guilt, not softened by emotional traps. A man who chooses himself first, without apology. A man whose value is defined internally, not borrowed externally. Because once you rewrite your identity, the world has no choice but to rewrite how it treats you. There's something your father never told you, not because he didn't care, but because nobody told him either. The world does not reward the man who is always present. It rewards the man whose presence feels earned. A scarce presence, a selective presence, a presence that must be approached with intention, not convenience. Most men drain themselves because they believe being available makes them valuable. In reality, it makes them replaceable. People do not respect what is abundant. They respect what is rare. That includes you. Look closely at your relationships, your friends, co-workers, partners, even family. Notice who only calls when they need something. Notice who disappears when you need something. Notice who treats your time like a luxury and who treats it like air-free, endless, guaranteed. You've been conditioned since childhood to believe that being always there makes you a good man. But Machiavelli warned, men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. He wasn't being cynical. He was explaining human nature. People take as much as you allow. They drain as much as you offer. And they value you in direct proportion to what it costs them to access you. Think of the last person you gave unlimited access to your time, your effort, your attention. What happened? They started treating you casually. They expected your presence. They stopped thanking you. They stopped noticing your sacrifices. Because you removed the price. Because your energy became predictable. Because your availability became automatic. And just like that, you became part of the background, useful but not respected, present but not valued. But here's the shift that separates powerful men from exhausted ones. Powerful men control their access like kings control their gates. They decide when they engage. They decide who gets their energy. They decide which battles are worth fighting and which people deserve their focus. They don't rush to every call. They don't bend to every request. They don't answer immediately out of fear of losing connection. Their presence is earned, not assumed. And when you adopt this discipline, everything changes. People begin to speak to you differently, calmer, more thoughtful, more respectful. They hesitate before making demands. They think twice before disrespecting you. Your absence becomes more influential than your presence ever was. Your silence becomes heavier than your words. Your boundaries become your power. But the cost of this transformation is real. Some people will accuse you of changing. Some will call you distant, cold, selfish. Understand this, they are not angry because you changed. They are angry because their access changed. They are losing privileges they never paid for. They are losing the version of you that existed for their convenience. This is not your loss. This is your purification. The moment you stop being freely available, you force others to reveal their true intentions. The ones who valued only what you provided will fade. Good, let them fade. The ones who valued you will remain and adjust. This shift is not cruelty, it is clarity, and it is the foundation of your rise. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer the man who is always there. You are the man who decides when and if he will be there. There is a rule powerful men live by, and it's one your father should have taught you early. You do not respond to everything that demands your attention. Weak men react, strong men choose. And the difference between those two paths determines the entire quality of your life. Every message, every interruption, every plea for help, every emotional outburst aimed at you, it all becomes a training ground. Are you ruled by the world, or do you rule your world? Most men never ask themselves this because they've been conditioned to obey every signal like a trained dog. But you're stepping into something different now. Observe how people treat a man who always responds instantly. They assume he has nothing more important to do. They assume he waits around for them. They assume he has no mission, no direction, no hierarchy of priorities. He becomes a man whose time is public property, not personal territory. And once people believe your time is free, they will fill it with their chaos, their crises, their emotional storms, their lack of planning, their guilt, their anger, their boredom. And because you want to be dependable, you sacrifice your own life to manage theirs. This is how good men become broken. Machiavelli said, "A wise man does immediately what a fool does eventually." But the opposite is also true. A fool reacts instantly, while a wise man chooses his moment. Your power begins the moment you stop responding like a servant and start responding like a strategist. A strategist evaluates. A strategist observes. A strategist decides what deserves attention and what deserves silence. Think of your own life. Think of the texts you rushed to answer, the favors you agreed to before thinking, the arguments you stepped into out of impulse. What did they give you? Stress, regret, emotional exhaustion, and in return, nothing. Because the person who reacts fastest is usually the person who loses. You lose leverage, you lose mystery, you lose control, you lose respect. But the moment you introduce delay-controlled, calm delay, the dynamic shifts. People begin to wonder what you're doing. They begin to adjust their tone. They begin to treat your time as something that must be earned. They become careful instead of entitled. You become desirable instead of disposable. Delay is not avoidance. Delay is power. A strong man does not disappear out of fear. He disappears out of discipline. He disappears to think, to evaluate, to plan, to elevate. And when he returns, he doesn't come back as the same man. They feel the difference immediately. Your silence forces others to reveal themselves. Your restraint exposes their intentions. Your lack of urgency shows them that your life is full, structured, and moving with purpose. This is the moment where everything in your life becomes negotiation. Your time is negotiated. Your attention is negotiated. Your energy is negotiated. And in negotiation, the man who needs nothing holds everything. You are learning to become that man. Because from now on, you do not react. You respond with intention, with strategy, and only when it serves your future. There is a truth most men never learn until life forces it into them. The world does not reward emotional men. It rewards men who can stay composed when others fall apart. Men who can think while others panic. Men who can remain calm even when provoked, insulted, challenged, or betrayed. Emotional men lose because emotional men reveal themselves. And revelation is vulnerability. Every fear, every insecurity, every desire, every trigger, once exposed, can be used against you. That's why manipulators love emotional men. They can pull one string and watch the whole machine collapse. But you are not becoming that man. you are becoming the opposite. You've seen this play out before. The coworker who makes a sarcastic remark just to see if you react. The ex who texts you at midnight to see if you'll crumble. The friend who jokes in front of others to test your ego. The family member who pokes at your past to pull you down. None of these people want your growth. They want confirmation that they still have influence over you. They want proof that the old version of you, the soft, reactive, approval-seeking version, is still inside. Every reaction you give them feeds that illusion. A man who reacts is a man who can be steered. A man who reacts is a man who can be predicted. And predictable men become puppets long before they realize the strings are already tied. Machiavelli warned, "He who cannot master his mind cannot master anything." He wasn't exaggerating. Every empire, every negotiation, every victory begins in the battlefield of the mind long before it reaches the world. That's why emotional control is not a suggestion, it's your survival. You must train your mind the way warriors train their hands, with precision, discipline, and intention. Think of the most powerful men you've met. They don't rush to defend themselves. They don't explain. They don't chase arguments. They don't collapse when someone withdraws affection. They stand still. They observe. They let the other person reveal their entire emotional map. That stillness is not emptiness, it is dominance. It is the quiet threat of a man who cannot be manipulated. You must cultivate that stillness. Imagine someone trying to provoke you today. Instead of reacting, you hold the pause, long enough for them to realize they miscalculated, long enough for the room to shift, long enough for them to feel their own insecurity echo back at them. That pause is where your power lives. A reactive man hands over the steering wheel. A still man keeps it. But emotional control does not mean you feel nothing. It means nothing controls you. It means your anger serves your mission, not your wounds. It means your fear becomes analysis, not paralysis. It means your sadness becomes reflection, not collapse. You weaponize your emotions instead of being weaponized by them. This is where men separate. Most fall into chaos. Few rise into control. And you are walking into the rare category now. The category of men whose minds are untouchable. And once your mind becomes untouchable, everything else follows. Your presence changes. Your decisions sharpen. Your value multiplies. Because the man who controls himself controls everything around him. There comes a moment in every man's evolution where he discovers a brutal truth. Your environment shapes you more than your intentions ever will. You can have discipline, ambition, and hunger, but if you surround yourself with weak men, needy friends, draining partners, or chaotic families, your potential suffocates before it breathes. Most men never outgrow the environments that molded their weakest self. They stay loyal to people who benefit from their stagnation. They stay tied to habits that keep them numb. They stay connected to relationships that punish growth, and because of that, they never rise. But you are not most men. You are learning to separate your destiny from your history. Look at the people around you. Who encourages your strength and who depends on your weakness? Who benefits when you improve and who panics at the idea of you leveling up? Who supports your discipline and who mocks your ambition? These questions expose the truth faster than words ever could, because the people closest to you are either scaffolding or quicksand. They either elevate your ascent or pull you downward without mercy. Here's a rule every powerful man knows. People are loyal to their needs, not to you. The moment your evolution threatens their comfort, they resist, they guilt you, they sabotage, they joke to bring you down, they complain that you're changing. But understand, these reactions are not about you. They are about what your growth forces them to confront: their laziness, their fears, their stagnation. When a man rises, he becomes a mirror. and mirrors make weak people uncomfortable. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good." In modern terms, it means this: you must be willing to make decisions that disappoint others in order to honor the man you are becoming. You cannot stay small for people who refuse to grow. You cannot dim yourself because someone else fears brightness. You cannot slow down because someone else is terrified of being left behind. Your father should have told you this. You do not owe anyone your potential. Not your friends, not your partner, not your parents, not your past. The world will try to convince you that loyalty means staying where you started. But loyalty without growth is self-betrayal. And most men betray themselves quietly, politely, respectfully, until life becomes a prison built from their own obedience. There is a reason powerful men spend time alone. Solitude reveals who you become without influence. Solitude sharpens your identity. Solitude frees you from inherited beliefs, outdated expectations, and emotional noise. In silence, you discover what you truly want, not what others trained you to want. And when you return from that solitude, you come back different, colder, clearer, stronger, more selective. This is why your environment must be chosen, not inherited. You choose who gets access. You choose who gets your time. You choose whose voice enters your mind. And every person who remains in your life must earn their place through mutual growth, not guilt, nostalgia, or convenience. Because the man you are becoming cannot be built in the same environment that built the boy you used to be. There is a moment in a man's rise when he realizes something terrifying. Most people around him are not rooting for his strength. They are rooting for his predictability. They want you to stay who you've always been, because who you've always been keeps them comfortable. The dependable one, the fixer, the listener, the man who sacrifices himself to maintain everyone else's emotional balance. But the second you start changing, the second your priorities shift, your standards tighten, your boundaries sharpen, people begin to panic. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're breaking the version of you they depended on. That version was compliant. This version is conscious. And consciousness threatens comfort. You've seen it before. When you improve your habits, certain friends disappear. When you stop tolerating disrespect, certain family members get offended. When you stop being the emotional landfill for others, they label you distant, cold, arrogant. But the truth is simple. You are no longer participating in dynamics that required your weakness to function. That's all. You stopped feeding systems that drained you. And now those systems are collapsing without your energy. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more with their eyes than their hands," meaning people judge you based on what they see, your presence, your behavior, your new standards. They don't feel your internal growth. They only see the boundaries it produces. And boundaries feel like betrayal to people who benefited from your lack of them. Think about that carefully. When you were always available, no one complained. When you were always understanding, no one protested. When you were always the one reaching out, listening, helping, rescuing, no one said a word. But the moment you shifted, suddenly you're the villain. Good. Let them crown you king of the villains. Because villains, in Machiavellian terms, are simply men who refuse to live at the mercy of others' emotions. They refuse to be controllable. They refuse to be guilt-tricked back into slavery. They refuse to apologize for prioritizing their own mission. In every transformation, there is a phase where you are misunderstood. It is unavoidable. People will misread your silence as anger. They will misinterpret your boundaries as rebellion. They will accuse you of being someone you're not because they no longer have access to who you were. This discomfort is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're evolving in a direction they cannot follow. And here's the twist. When you stop performing the role they assigned you, they must face the truth about themselves. They must confront the fact that they contributed nothing to your growth. They must confront the fact that they relied on you more than you relied on them. They must confront the truth that you don't need them, but they needed you. This is the psychological shift that turns an ordinary man into a dangerous one. You stop fearing abandonment. You stop chasing validation. You stop negotiating your worth. And when a man reaches this state, he becomes uncontrollable, unpredictable, unshakable. The world can no longer manipulate him through guilt or loss. Because you finally understand the truth your father never taught you. A man who can stand alone cannot be broken. There comes a stage in a man's rise when he realizes the harshest truth of all. No one is coming to enforce your standards for you. Not your father. Not your friends. Not the world. If you don't protect your boundaries, they collapse. If you don't enforce your value, it depreciates. If you don't define how people treat you, they will define it for you, and their definition will always serve them, not you. This is where most men break. They avoid conflict, so they accept disrespect. They fear loss, so they tolerate manipulation. They crave harmony, so they become the emotional punching bag for anyone who feels entitled to their patience. But you are no longer operating from that weakness. You are entering the phase where you begin to understand your value through behavior, not hope. Ask yourself, how many times have you downplayed your worth to maintain peace? How many times have you allowed someone to cross a boundary just to avoid being difficult? How many times have you stayed silent while someone chipped away at your pride with jokes, dismissals, or passive-aggressive remarks? Every time you allow it, you train the world to push further. Disrespect escalates, entitlement grows, and your silence becomes permission. Machiavelli said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you must choose." In modern terms, it means this: being liked is optional. Being respected is mandatory. And respect does not come from kindness, it comes from consequence. The moment people realize you're willing to walk away, willing to say no, willing to enforce the lines you draw, they adjust. They correct themselves. They control their tone, their words, their behavior, because now your reactions contain weight. Now interactions with you have stakes. Most men misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are about controlling others. They're not. Boundaries are about controlling yourself, what you tolerate, what you engage with, what you give energy to, what you refuse to participate in. You cannot force anyone to respect you, but you can refuse to stay in environments where you are disrespected. That refusal is your leverage. That refusal is your armor. That refusal is what separates a man who rises from a man who is quietly destroyed. Picture your life as a throne room. A king doesn't argue with every visitor. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't justify his choices. He simply decides who stays, who leaves, and what is worthy of his presence. You must adopt the same cold logic. If someone consistently disrespects you, distance yourself. If someone drains you emotionally, limit access. If someone belittles your growth, remove them. No speeches, no warnings, no emotional theatrics, just action. Here's the irony. The moment you enforce your standards, the same people who once took you for granted begin chasing your approval. Why? Because boundaries create value. Scarcity creates respect. Selectivity creates mystique. And a man who is not afraid to lose people becomes the man the world is afraid to lose. You are becoming that man now. A man whose standards are not spoken, they are felt. There comes a point in a man's evolution where everything finally clicks: the pain, the abandonment, the disrespect, the loneliness, the confusion, all of it. You begin to see that every wound was training, every betrayal was instruction, every disappointment was preparation, not to make you bitter, but to make you ruthless in the right direction. because the world does not reward the man who learns slowly. It rewards the man who adapts brutally. And now you stand on the edge of a truth your father never taught you. No one evolves by accident. You evolve by force. Look back at the hardest moments of your life. The nights when you felt invisible. The days when people dismissed you. The relationships where you gave everything and received nothing. The times you were overlooked, underestimated, ignored. These were not failures, they were awakenings. They were the universe stripping away every illusion about how the world works. They were removing softness from your mind, hesitation from your spine, and naivety from your eyes. They were forging you into someone the old version of you could never have become. And now comes the final transformation, turning your pain into precision. Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune favors the bold." But boldness is not recklessness. Boldness is controlled aggression directed toward your mission, not your emotions. Boldness is the decision to rise instead of collapse. Boldness is choosing discipline over impulse. And boldness is refusing to be defined by wounds that were never your fault. What separates strong men from broken ones is simple. Strong men assign meaning to their suffering. Broken men assign identity to it. You are choosing meaning. Here is the final truth. Your father taught you what he could, but he could not teach you what he never mastered. He couldn't teach you emotional detachment because he never learned it. He couldn't teach you boundaries because he never had them. He couldn't teach you self-respect because life beat him down before he discovered it. That doesn't make him weak, it makes him human. But you are the evolutionary upgrade. You are correcting the weaknesses of your bloodline by refusing to repeat them. So what does your future look like now? It looks like a man who moves with intention instead of reaction. A man whose silence intimidates more than his words. A man who selects his circle with surgical precision. A man who walks away without guilt. A man who cannot be manipulated through fear, guilt, or affection. A man who does not beg for validation. A man who is self-governing, self-directed, and self-respecting. This is the man you were meant to become. And understand this. People will sense the shift. Your presence will feel heavier. Your choices will become sharper. Your attention will become a prize. Your boundaries will become non-negotiable. And those who once underestimated you will not recognize you anymore. Good. They shouldn't. You are not here to be applauded. You are here to be undeniable. So, as we close this journey, remember one final command. Become a man whose life cannot be dictated by anyone but himself, and hit the subscribe and like button for more. Because when you master that, you master everything.